Hello and welcome to Touchline from Casper Els and Mark Cameron. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Cas. Nice being back in studio. Very excited about tonight's guest, that's for sure.
Definitely excited about the guest. Would you like to introduce our guest?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. We've got our first lady guest on show tonight, Marlize from Merwe, all the way from the Cheetah country. Marlize, welcome to Touchline.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Marlize, if I can start with the first question here, tell us, how did you get involved in rugby?
Jeez, that was completely by chance. I was actually busy with my studies, and I was standing next to the field. I had to do a bit of a what do you call it? I'm going to say een dienstopleiding. But I was standing next to a rugby field as part of my studies, and then I was able to pass the ball, and then one of the old players came to me and said, but they need to field a women's team. Would I be interested in playing? And I said, well, I don't know anything about rugby, but I'm willing.
Wow.
So
that's
that started
incredible.
from your student days?
Well, not really. My second studies. So it's really fairly late in life that I was introduced into rugby. It was like just I think I was 26 or 28 there.
Yeah. And then from there, how did it progress?
Well, I enjoyed the game tremendously, and then I had the opportunity to play Springbok trials, and I wasn't selected that year. And then after playing Sevens IPT, I was elected to join the elite squad, the Springbok squad, and then from there we played as emerging box. We played sevens tournaments, and I made it into the squad at a very late age.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and then obviously when you decided to hang up your boots and that, you took on a different approach, but you're still involved in rugby, and part of that is you the Cheetah's head coach, the women's coach, obviously in the Free State, and you're also doing development, and you're trying to get the youngsters uplifted and get them through the system. So if you can tell us something or a little bit about that.
Well, I have a passion for the game. We have I started officiating while I was still playing, and they changed the setup here back home that we were allowed to play and officiate at the same time, because I wanted to do them both, and I have to say that the one really aids the other. The law knowledge really helped my game, and vice versa. And I also know it's a bit of a struggle, and I also know where the world is with regards to where we are. And we really need to improve the game. And so on Saturday mornings, I would just create a post, and then on Saturday mornings invite anyone that's willing to come and train, or someone that's just interested, that knows nothing about the game. So just to do a bit of skills and so on.
Isn't it easier, if there's for the lack of a better word, but easier being a Springbok women's coach, and obviously a lot of the women would have followed you, and then to get involved in trying to bring them onto the field, because obviously women's rugby in South Africa has been a late developer, if I can put it like that. Nowadays, obviously everyone is pushing for the women, and rightfully so. But did you find it easier because people could relate to you? Obviously it made your job easier because you've been exposed to the highest level already, and sometimes if you speak from that point of view, you actually have more respect in the people say, wait a minute, this guy coach or lady coach was a Springbok before, she obviously knows what she's talking about, to lure those people to come and play for you guys.
Oh, definitely, I think so, and especially if the knowledge get out. But I think the way I went about it was from a playing point of view. I went into an officiating time, and so the youngsters don't really know me.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really follow me as for instance, Rassi was a player coach, and then from there his coaching career took off. So but it really makes a difference when the knowledge gets out, and they realize, okay, but their coach has been there. And I also think that when we get them to a session and they realize what we put in, and they can really learn, and it's also easy to coach the girls because they're so eager to learn.
Yeah.
So we gain huge there's huge changes in what happens like on a
Definitely.
Saturday morning with just passing skills. The gains is tremendous.
So if you look Free State Rugby, obviously you coach the Free State side, the women's side there, but the development within the Free State setup, is there a lot of support from the Free State Rugby Union? Do you guys have club rugby where the ladies actually participate at specific clubs, or is it a battle for Marlize self to try out, follow you on social media, so I see how much work you do in the background, but your support structures to try and make this happen, because there's such a opportunity here for women's rugby worldwide to take place, and no better place than in the Free State in the winter months when you train.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I have a lot of support from the union. I have a lot of support from Free State coaches. Albert Kier is willing to assist with kicking sessions, and we have Malusi keen to help with attack play and so on. We have CUT always willing to give us their fields and with lights, and the union really we have a lot of support in the Free State. I'm really lucky.
Just another question from our side with regards to your development. Obviously, when you started, I can only assume it would have been senior ladies. Is there a plan in place where you now start focus on school kids, let's say under 16 or 18, and obviously start building from there, so that they are not late bloomers like yourself?
Oh, that's the main aim. But it's there's two things that I think that we still battle with in South Africa. We definitely battle with it in the Free State, and that's headmasters are not too keen to bring the game into the schools, and parents don't want their daughters, and that's not only dads, it's moms as well. They don't want their daughters playing rugby.
It's definitely unique, or definitely not unique to the Free State.
That's a fact.
It's a massive challenge for us as well. And even at club level, being involved in the Mums and Toti Rugby Club, even at club level, we battle to get the girls in, and you can see the mums and dads don't really want their girls to play. So it is a battle. How do you think we address that? How do we fix that to get people, and especially parents then, and principals, as you said, how do we fix that to get them to understand that we want to have the ladies play the game, and that it's safe enough and it's a good enough game for them to play?
I think a good place to start is with tag rugby. I really like tag rugby. The fact that you have to go for a tag already get you into that body position that's a perfect body position for tackling. And then if we can maybe set up a league of tag or touch and progress from there on slowly, I think that's a good way to go.
You know, Marlize, I don't think that was a trick question, and I'm smiling because just by fluke, Cas and myself had a meeting with a development officer from Sharks Rugby last week, and from a development side. So when I say this, the ladies obviously they're more ladylike, and hence the fact that the parents don't want them to go there, but the girls obviously want to play. And we had a similar discussion from a development point of view, and not specifically a women's side, but just plain development.
Just in general,
And that is the first point of reference that they went to as well, and said it has to start with tag rugby, just so that you get used to it. I mean, there's a little bit of bumping and whatever in that, but then you start getting, and from there on you progress. So well done in that. I'm glad you read our script before we sent it to you. No, but it's good to know, because obviously, speaking from a Sharks perspective now, and speaking from Free State perspective, obviously they're all on par, and I think that's actually great.
So how do we start this, Marlize? How do we get people now interested in tag rugby? How do you think what will be the best avenue to take to get people interested in tag rugby?
I don't think the ladies is the problem. I think there's a lot of girls that's interested. Because I've been to the action sports arena to try and recruit some of the netball girls that I think fit in greatly with the game. I think what we need to do is maybe just we need influential people to approach maybe schools and then set up a proper league and take it from there.
No, I agree
shouldn't
with
that
you
be a
100%.
top-down initiative, that we start with a SARU, top-down, and then get it through to the franchises, to the bigger franchises, the Cheetahs and the Sharks and those guys, and force it through from the top?
I think so, yes. I think the ladies lose out a lot if you look at varsity sports. There's varsity sports, netball and all others, but there's no rugby. And even if we start just with sevens or touch or something like that, but I agree. I think it should be from the top down. It worked well a couple of years back when I started. There was pressure on universities to field the team, and that's how we got into the CU. How I got into the CUT side. I think that's a good way to go.
Marlize, just moving away from the physical contact point of view in 15 or 7s, obviously you do officiating and that as well, and even for the guys that don't want to play rugby anymore, I think it's too late when you stop playing rugby to start officiating. I think they should actually start introducing that at schoolboy level already, or girl level, where they get involved in that, and then you referee a primary school game or something like that, and as you go along. What I want to ask you here is, there's if you look at Amy Barretron, for argument's sake, she's done phenomenally well, and so I can name a few ladies worldwide that has done well. And then the people that are in the system that look up to and say, but wait a minute, I can't play, or I'm maybe too scared to make contact, whatever the reason is, but I love rugby and I want to get involved. How would one then go that route? Because obviously I agree with you. To get the girls involved, ideally would be at a school level. I mean, there's so many kids there. I mean, some schools play touch rugby, so it's similar to tag rugby in that sense. But even from an officiating point of view, I mean, you're fortunate enough to do a few varsity cup matches and sit in the box and so forth. How would we go that route to get them involved?
Well, obviously, you have to have the love of rugby, which I think there's a lot of girls. Amy's story was she played with me. She's I think it's 3 times Springbok. She's a touch Springbok and a 7 Springbok and a 15 Springbok. And she got an injury, and at a field in Cape Town, I asked her, but why doesn't she become a rugby official? And she was a bit wary about it, and it took it took a bit of a
nudge.
But I mean, she's done extremely well.
Yes.
I think again, introduction at school level. I think the age that the players or the
officials,
people are allowed to get involved is at 16. But I think we should bring it down a bit, especially in primary schools. You can just run touch.
Correct. Even if that's your first sport.
There's a lot of people with sorry?
No, continue.
There's a lot of young people with the attitude that will be able to officiate at
that's for sure.
level.
I can agree with that one.
There's a lot of officiating. In talking about development, don't you think we should shift the focus slightly with development and broaden that horizon to bring officials and club administrators and all of those facets of the game? I say club administrator, but administrators, your team managers and your organizational administrators. Bring that into your development as well. I think there's a lot of people or a lot of youngsters standing next to the field that know that they can't really play for some or another reason, whether it's a disability or whatever it might be. and they actually pull away from the game because they believe that they can't play. But they don't, or we don't show them all the other avenues. Don't you think we should just broaden that scope a little bit and say, you know, you can get involved in the game in different facets. You don't have to go and play on the field.
Yeah, I don't think that the information is out there. I don't think it's easy to go. It's not even easy for girls to get to know that there is rugby. I mean, there's still places we get to that they say there's women's rugby. So I think exposure. We need a bit of exposure, but not always. I mean, it's not necessary game or exposure in the games. Maybe at a club game, just have the curtain raiser or something like that. But yes, all the avenues. I think the information should be out there.
Yeah, something like now with a sevens tournament where they actually brought the women's game in amongst the men's broadcasts. I think something like that now, and they should actually do it with the Six Nations as well, where the Six Nations ladies tour with the men and they play with the men. But you never see those games. They never bring those games in with them like they've done with the sevens now, which was actually phenomenal. I think it was brilliant. Watching a women's game directly after one of the... Yeah, right. And it's brilliant. I think that was brilliant, and I think we should see much more of that, and we should see it in the URC and with our Currie Cup and all of those games.
I agree. The Tuks women's side is doing really well, and they're touring all over. Yeah. They are really an organised side.
You're talking about the Tuks side. I didn't even know that Tuks has got a women's side. I mean,
now
once again,
that's why you must watch Touchline. You just heard it on Touchline for the first time.
Watch Touchline.
Thanks, Marlize.
You first heard that on Touchline.
Marlize, just quickly, we obviously want to talk quite a bit of other rugby like the URC and Six Nations and that. If we can just go to the Varsity Cup quickly. How did you get involved in the Varsity Cup? What do you do? When our viewers and our listeners now watch a specific game, where can they find you?
I am a timekeeper with Varsity Cup, with the Varsity Cup now. It's just another avenue that was available. I don't think that many people know how many referees it takes, match officials it takes just to run one game. The TMO, I think at some of the games it can go up to nine officials for one game, and that was one of the available. Avenues and just to stay close to the game.
And then do you like a referee, for argument's sake, get the opportunity to go to different stadia, or are you basically just based in Cheetah land?
No, I'm basically with that. I'm basically based here, but there's also avenues you can also move up, and then with tests. So you get a test timekeeper level as well. Where you'd be able to go to different stadiums with the tests.
So obviously you can't just do it. You need to do exams and whatever. It's just not someone sitting there. You actually need to know what you're doing.
No, you need to know.
Marlize, before we carry on, quick quiz.
Put your seatbelt on.
Put your seatbelt on. Quick quiz. What was your first car and what do you drive now?
My first car was a City Golf, a red and white City Golf, and I drive a Suzuki Desire now.
Pizza or pasta?
I like them both. I like them both. It depends on the situation.
Absolute no on your plate.
Overly done steak, I like mine blue.
That's a free statement. Best holiday destination?
I'd prefer Exotic Island or anywhere I can snorkel or do...
A Mums and Toti is a very nice place.
If you have space in your kit bag, I'm available.
Dream job when you were little?
Sorry?
Your dream job. Yeah.
I wanted to be a professional athlete.
Rugby player.
I was an 800 meters athlete. Yeah, I wanted to be a professional athlete.
I thought you would have said a referee or a coach or something.
Yes. A moment on the field you would rather forget?
I thought about that a bit in my lifetime, but I haven't had I think the most embarrassing moment was at a full Twickenham Stadium, where I officiated a sevens final between Australia and England, and I was making the mark for a scrum, and I lost my words. My English was like airtime in it.
And that was done.
Then you ran out of airtime.
Yeah, so the Australian girl assisted me, and I just said what she said.
Good for her. You see, you guys work well together.
I see that, yeah. Now, tell us, what's the way forward? Where's Marlize going from here?
Well, when I talk to other people, I say I'm gonna coach the Springbok women's side. I wanna.
Great attitude.
That's my aim. I would like to end up there.
Great attitude.
Yeah, no, great attitude. And you know, as I said earlier, there is such a hunger for women's rugby, women's sport, to be honest, worldwide. Yes. But rugby, they say rugby, women's rugby is the fastest growing sport in the world at the moment. So I think if we put our thinking hats on and we get it right, as you said, start with tag rugby and get the schools involved and get the right channels in place. And I agree with you, Saru may be pushing. So like we have specific tournaments, so you have a ladies tournament, even if you combine it, I think we'll be on the right track.
Definitely. Right, can we talk some URC, United Rugby Championship? Games played, Zebra Bulls. Zebra 7, Bulls 45. Then the Leinster Lions, Leinster 21, Lions 13. Unfortunately, we lost that one. And then Connacht 17, Stormers 19, Benetton 7, Sharks 29. Mark, if I can ask you comments on those games?
Well, firstly, going back to the Bulls, we spoke about it last week. We did say they're playing Zebra, and Zebra is last on the log, so it should have been an easier game for them, which obviously it proved. Look, firstly, we need to say that when, at the end of last year, when the Bulls went to play in the Northern Hemisphere, when they played Italy in the final, we were without our Springboks.
Yes.
They had all the internationals. Now it's similar, and when the URC started at the end of last year, all our teams toured up there. We battled against them because they didn't have the internationals, so all our internationals are back now and theirs aren't. So from a Bulls point of view, we always knew it's going to be so-called easy, and the points showed that at the end of the day, and well-deserved. And maybe that is what the Bulls just needed to kickstart their season again, because I think they've been on a bit of a rocky road.
Cool. Marlize?
I agree with him. The Bulls, I think, had an easy game. Yes. The Lions, on the other hand, I think was a surprise.
It was a surprise
for one of the top of the log teams. Yeah. But it seems like we always battle when we play abroad. I think the conditions and everything plays a role.
Yeah, something on the Lions game. If it wasn't for those two quick tries, that short period that the Lions lost concentration and Leinster scored those quick 2 tries, I think this game would have been totally different.
Could have gone the other way, yes.
It could have gone the other way. And I think the Lions did well there.
I think I agree with you. I think the difference, and that's probably why Leinster won. The difference is Leinster is like a so-called All Black side. They know what they have. They know what they can do. They back themselves regardless of if their top players are available. Yeah. So they would go into any game believing they're the best team on the planet, and that's how they focus. Where the Lions at the moment, and we were fortunate to have Ricardo Loubser, we spoke about that, we spoke about how positive they are, how they've been developing, and the results unfortunately speak for itself. I mean, Marlize, you've been a player yourself. You know, if you keep losing, yeah. The coaches can talk as much as they want to. They can have the best structures involved. If the players start not believing, I think that's a problem. And you know, when the Lions scored that try later in the second half, I mean, it was a close call. 4 points in it. Well, 7 points in it, 8 points in it. Yeah. When they scored that try, there wasn't smiles, there was no high fives. They just got up and they, you know, so it's as if their belief is gone. Another thing that I picked up, and I don't know if it is like that, and Ricardo might give us a call after this. I don't think the Lions are as fit as they ought to be at this level. And I think, normally when the underdogs are within reach in the last 5 or 10 minutes, they're there. But I think they ran out of steam.
Yeah. Talking about fitness, if you look at the Connacht Stormers game, the Stormers almost lost that game in those last 10, 15 minutes. They almost threw it away.
Yeah, look, it's always going to be difficult. Connacht is a great side, so, I'm just happy the Sharks won.
Any comments on those games? Stormers, Connacht, and then Benetton Sharks?
I didn't watch the Stormers game, I don't think, but the Stormers they're really doing well. I'm really
Yes.
I think I'm glad the Hendrick brothers are back, both the one with the Lions and the one at the Sharks. I think they're brilliant players. I think playing against Italian sides is obviously an easier match. But we see how it goes.
And I agree with you. Look, we spoke often about the Sharks going to Benetton.
Yes.
Benetton beat the Bulls in the final last year.
Yeah.
But yet again, I say this, the Irish sides, the Italian sides, all the teams we'll be playing against in the URC are without their top players because they're part of the Six Nations.
Yeah.
So this is a time that we need to step up to the plate and we need to make it count. But even the Stormers' performance, and you're 100% right, Marlize, they've been playing better rugby compared to in the beginning. But with their Springboks back, similar to the Sharks, I mean, the Sharks have the most Springboks back, and we haven't hit our straps yet. And obviously we did well. We got a bonus point against Benetton.
Yes.
And the nice part is just we're back to winning ways. We're starting. I just feel for the Lions. I think the Lions just need that one game just to get their motivation back.
100%. If we can quickly go then to under-20s. I see the under-20s has started now. The Lions Eastern Province game was stopped due to bad weather, a thunderstorm that came in, but the Lions were up 42-0 half-time, and then they never took to the field again.
That's why the thunder was there, to stop it early.
To stop it. So there, our under-20s did very well. The Bulls and the Leopards, I think that was a bit of a David and Goliath situation. The Bulls 74 and the Leopards 28. And then the Sharks, Western Province 17-20. 17 to the Sharks, 20 to Western Province. Marlize, your thoughts on those games? Those under-20 development?
I don't think the games are aired, but I've listened to especially what the Bulls were doing. I think they are really clever going about it, drawing someone like Wessel du Plessis coaching the
Yes.
squad, and having that such a magnificent time with Grey College. I think I think that we're going to see a lot more of the Bulls because of how the younger players are shaped.
Yes.
No, I agree 100%. And Jake White has done phenomenally. I mean,
Yes.
when he came back, the Bulls senior side did well, and they excelled in and everyone was talking. But now, all of a sudden, they've taken a bit of a dip, although they're still great side and they're still up there. They're not setting the world alight like they did in the beginning with all the cups that they'd won. But at the same time, when he came in, he spoke about their junior rugby.
Yes.
He brought the big guys back in the senior rugby, not focusing too much on senior rugby, but for the big guys. But he put the right people in place, the coaching structures, and the players that they bought and whatever. And I mean, I know it's early days. That 74 points, and I say it with respect as well, for a smaller union against the Leopards, but you still have to put it on the board. What they didn't do in the second half is execute as much as they did in the first half, because half-time was 50-57. Obviously, the Leopards came back a little bit, and the Bulls slacked down a bit. And then just if you look at the Western Province Sharks game, the seniors have had our numbers in the last two games. We drew the one and lost the other one, except for Currie Cup. And hopefully that was the last time that the Western Province beat us.
Let's hope so. Just to get back to the Bulls and Jake White. Jake White's a very strong believer in getting the club structures right, and he actually forces his international and national international players and his provincial players to actually go back to their clubs to go and play for their clubs. And I think that also contributes to the under-20s coming through strongly.
You know how good they are. They have now, the Bulls have now announced a tournament where they've invited the top or the winning teams of the Premiership sides throughout South Africa to a competition at the Bulls. Rovers from KZN it's one of the teams that have been invited to go and play. So you're 100% right. That's part of their, and obviously here it shows they're not only giving back or developing within their own province, but they're taking it outside of, maybe it's to recruit, I don't know, but they're very clever. So
maybe it is to recruit. Then if we can move on to the World Cup Sevens, I see the tickets has opened up. Some of them quite expensive. I see they range from 150 Rand to 1,750 Rand. The World Cup taking place in Cape Town on the 9th to the 11th of September. Your thoughts on that, Marlize?
The women's World Cup. There's the Women's World Cup Sevens.
Well, the World Cup Sevens, yeah.
That's men's.
Yeah.
I think this is the men's one. But you guys will be there as well?
No, not necessarily. The Springbok women will be there because of obviously because of we're the hosting nation. So we'll be there. I hope our preparation. There's already been a camp, and I hope the preparation went well. It would be nice. In 2009 we were ranked fourth in the world, and we dropped out a bit. So it would be lovely to get back on the horse again there.
Yes.
So would you be involved at all or not really?
I don't know at this stage. There is a couple of positions that we can fill, but there's no certainty yet.
No,
I'd love to be there though.
Yeah, I can imagine. So would we, by the way. So no, and you know, to get it back to South Africa, I know it's a World Cup now, but I mean we've lost out on, I think it's the last 2 or 3 World Series in Cape Town, and to have it back in Cape Town, and I mean with the setting and whatever, there's no better place in the world than here. So that's great.
That's a Sevens Mecca. Six Nations. The Six Nations this past weekend. Ireland 57, Italy 6. England, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought Wales was going to do much better there. England 23, Wales 19. And then Scotland, France. That was also one to watch. Scotland 17, France 36. And that ends Scotland. Marlize, you were talking about France. France being a pretty good side and a side to watch. I know Mark has, in the last couple of weeks, said that France-Ireland, and it was the France-Ireland game, the one that wins that game is the one to watch, and France won it. Your thoughts on that one?
I think what France is doing right is they have their structures in place, and then I think they've got the Minister of Sport is a former rugby player, so I think that helps the game a lot. And obviously their juniors are also doing extremely well. So I think the work they've done in the past really sets them up for what's happening now. I think they're definitely a team to watch out for in the World Cup.
And I think, speak France alone, the one thing, I mean, there's many things that they got right. So give Fabien Galthier and his coaches credit where credit is due. The one thing that they've got right over the years is that they are more consistent than they used to be.
Yes.
You know, in the past you go, it depends on which French side actually pitches to play the game, and then you see they're undercooked or not, and you close them. Now, I mean, even in the Six Nations, they come from behind already to win. I mean, at the end of the last year, I think that's probably what gave them their biggest boost was when they beat New Zealand. So their planning is spot on for World Cup glory next year, and I can tell you now, and I go to Jacques Nienaber and them as well, the team that goes to France has to beat the French in France. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough World Cup.
100%. Then England-Wales. Marlize, your thoughts on England-Wales?
I think England is really their defence is really good.
Yes.
I think it's a tough team to get past and to make meters. It's quite agonizing watching them playing and set up phases after phases and not going anywhere. But I think that's credit to definitely their coaching staff there.
No, definitely. And I think even Eddie Jones is still under the cosh. There's still rumours that he needs to leave and that, but he's only lost one game, and that's to France. And I mean, France has been beating everyone. Yes, I hear you. 1923 is not a great score for an England side that has actually punted to have won the Six Nations. But yet again, similar to our Lions, if there's a little bit of trouble in the camp and everyone's not happy, it affects them. And I don't think the listeners not the listeners, the rugby followers out there, as Marlize said, now you don't know how many officiators there are in a game.
Yes.
I don't think rugby followers really understand what an impact anything that goes wrong on a tour or in a game can actually affect you on that specific day. But for South African sake, I'm glad the Bombs are battling.
Then Ireland, Italy. I think that was expected, that Ireland would have beaten
Ireland
Italy.
is very strong.
Yes, they are strong.
Okay, so if I can put you on the spot here, the Ireland-Italy game, and I agree with you, we all said Ireland should be too strong, and yes, they were. To be honest with you, I think if I was the Irish coach, I wouldn't have been happy with that score at all, for the simple reason that Italy played with 13 men for most of the game, definitely with 14 from the beginning.
Yeah.
So what had happened there was the hooker, the Italian hooker, got injured. Replacement hooker came on. He was cited for illegal play, shoulder to head. They couldn't find any mitigating circumstances to keep him on the field, and he was subbed. All right, so subbed. He was given a red card, and then the law states, because it's the front row, you have to take someone else off to bring another player on, because you are now going to go uncontested because of a card. And I mean, to be honest, 15 men on the field against Italy. I mean, Italy against Ireland is always going to be difficult. To play with 13 men, firstly, the team's morale goes south, and then you need to try and, I mean, you play with passion in the heart because that's your country, you're defending for your life. But I mean, the poor Italians hardly saw the ball. And later on, I don't even think the Irish enjoyed scoring because they didn't look excited for scoring, and who can blame them? Because in theory, it's no contest. So, as I said, I'm going to throw you under the bus. As a coach, let's go twofold here, please, Marlize, if you don't mind. So, as a coach, if you were the coach of the Italian side, how do you motivate them to continue? If I can ask that first question.
Oh, I think that's a very difficult one. I mean, obviously they're going to make up 2 spots, so the work that needs to go in there, I think it's a lot. That's a real difficult one.
Yeah, I get it.
As like you said, I mean, the morale goes south when something like that happens, and I think they need to definitely have a look at the law, especially at that level. It's like a red card in a sevens final like a sevens final where then you know what the outcome of the game is going to be.
Yes. No, 100%. And then I agree with that, because a fit side has to work so much hard. If that was the All Blacks, for argument's sake, I think they would fight harder, because they are passionate and they believe in themselves and they believe in the structures. So then, just on an officiating point of view, and knowing the laws and things like that, I mean, obviously it's a massive disadvantage to the side to lose 2 players. In theory, you actually lose 3, because now it's a scrum first up. You have to lose either a flanker or a winger or whatever the coach decides, because you've now lost someone and you have to bring someone on, and then you have to lose. So in theory, you've lost 4 players, and you can't play. So from an officiating point of view, obviously I don't think any ref that is officiating that game would find it a nice card to give, because I think they're all human in any case, and they feel for the opposition. But as an official, if you can talk out, don't you think that's one of the laws that they need to look at? And I don't know how to tweak it, but definitely not send an extra player off.
No, I really think that say for instance with a red card, if they could have a sin bin period, the same as with the yellow card, but maybe send in another player earlier, and then not let the red carded player take part in the game further. But I think it's really something that they need to look at.
Yeah, I think it sours the whole game, and
Yeah.
one team is
Yeah,
completely out of it.
And the heat is also like if you look at a match official, so there's a set of rules. There's your law book, and then especially with red cards, so there's this structure that we need to look at. For instance, this is red, and this is your mitigating circumstances and things like that. And refs are also reviewed after each game. You have to give and you get reviewed. So you also at a position where you could lose another appointment. So you have to adhere to that.
I'm glad you brought.
It's not a very popular position to be.
No, I can imagine. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of spectators believe the referees don't get reviewed after the game, especially if you look at the different interpretations. Not only you can only name one competition like URC, but then you go URC, Currie Cup, wherever it is, and you see all same rule. I mean, we've seen it on TV how many times for a red card, high head tackle or whatever, and some get away with it, some get a yellow card, some get a red card, and it's actually crazy. So it's good that you're saying that they are reviewed after the game, but what the public is saying, there's obviously no repercussion, because you could have cost the opposite side that now lost because of that red card or yellow card. In any case, we're not here to discuss that.
Definitely not. I think that brings us to our discussion. We're running out of time. Marlize, thank you very much. We really appreciate your input and your time. Very nice chatting to you. Pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Marlize, and we'll definitely push on your button again, maybe after the Varsity Cup and closer to the sevens, and I'm sure our listeners would like to hear what you have to say again. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
In closing, I want to ask our listeners and our viewers to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Touchline by Chat Sapphire, and then also to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Please go and have a look and follow us. We will be here, and we would like to hear from you. So please follow us. Mark, thank you very much. Really appreciate. Nice talking to you again and having your insight in the game.
Thanks, Gus. Always a pleasure and an honor to be in studio, and wonderful to speak to a lady guest for a change.
100%.
And may her and Free State Rugby just continue growing, and the women growing in the country. So
women
well done
rugby
to
in
her.
South Africa, yes. Very nice. From myself, Casper Els, and Mark Cameron, thank you very much for joining Touchline, and have a great rugby week.